Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the news review. And as always, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment. And here's what they're offering you. As always, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Just make your way to any of their branches. Fortunately, they are dotted across the country. Let's start with here in Accra. They are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takra Dianaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Asiamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, and in the next 30 minutes thereabouts, we'll be having an engagement with the NDC's parliamentary candidate for Awutu, James Kofi Annan. He is our guest as we get into the newspapers. It's a bit of a dry morning, but that doesn't mean a paucity of issues to discuss because there's a plethora of them. James, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us in the studio. How is Awutu? When last were you in the constituency?
Thank you, and good morning to your viewers. Awutu is doing very well. I mean, ordinarily should be doing very well. We have some issues that we are grappling with. I'm sure you heard in the news how mining was going to take place near our only source of drinking water in the constituency.
Recently, was it a demonstration or you massed up people and you were there protesting that you didn't want?
Yeah. I took newsmen around to see for themselves the land that the applicant, that the Gleam Resources was going to mine on. And how close it was to the river itself. You know, the Ayusu River, as I said, is the only source of drinking water for the entire Awutu constituency, as far as the Gumua constituencies. We have 3 Gumua constituencies. And that is where the Ghana Water Company takes its source, pumps the water to the treatment plant to be distributed to all the towns and villages in those constituencies. It is the same river that the farmers also use to irrigate their farms. They have a lot of farms around the river and they operate it all year round. So that is their source of irrigation. The river is also used as fishing, source of fishing by some of the fishermen as well as even the farmers. And we believe that this river that serves such a useful purpose, we cannot allow mining to take place there because you know the dangerous chemicals that miners use in washing their product. And so if we allow it to happen, then all the chemicals will go into the water and we will not be able to drink the water any longer. And it will also affect the fishes that are under the water, and it means that the fishermen are not going to be able to fish. The river also has its estuary in Winneba, which means that it's at Winneba that Ayusu River joins the sea.
Right.
So if it is polluted, then it's also going to pollute the sea. And we know already the pollution situation of our seas. So, there's no way we should allow such a thing to happen close to the Ayusu River.
Interesting developments there. I definitely knew that mining would be one of the things you would like to talk about. But let's talk about, you started by saying that Awutu was doing very well. If Awutu is doing very well, then you should probably be letting Alexander Afenyo-Markin continue, right? On the electoral front and voters, what are your concerns?
Well, you see, when I say Awutu is doing well, the people are resilient. The spirit of the people is high, regardless of all the challenges. You know, unemployment situation in Awutu is very, very high. And so I cannot see that the Awutu is doing well in terms of people's pocket income. And poverty is very high. That's why we have human trafficking situation all over the constituency. Unfortunately...
Oh, we do?
Oh, yes.
Is that rife?
Human trafficking is... Awutu is one of the most endemic when it comes to human trafficking. And you know, that's the work I have been doing for so many years. It's the reason, myself being a victim of the situation.
Right.
A lot of children.
I mean, your story I know, but I didn't know that it was still such a problem.
Oh yeah. It's endemic. Yes, it is. I mean, of course, we have made progress over the years because of interventions, of course, my involvement and all of that. But it's still a situation that needs to be tackled, and it's still a situation that needs to be tackled through proper employment programs that will make the people self-reliance, have income for themselves, and avoid poverty, be able to afford education, take their children to school, etc. So that is what if we do. But I'm sure you might have heard the news. Yesterday there was a press conference in Gomua East, in Desmond Petu's, Honorable Desmond Petu's constituency, of constituents who were angered by MPP coming to the constituency to recruit people in waiting for the Electoral Commission's registration process. So they should come and register or transfer their vote to a Awutu constituency and vote for the MPP. There was actually a press conference. And you remember?
So this is what? An allegation?
It's not, okay, so the people
it is an allegation, right?
It's an allegation, but the people themselves who were affected, who were contacted, were the ones who held the press conference. And I've sent some of the videos to your production team. They themselves, people who were saying, I was contacted. I was asked to bring my voter's ID card. In fact, I have sent my voter's ID card to an agent who is the main person.
An agent of whom?
An agent of the MPP. I told you.
Recruiting these people?
Recruiting these people to go and register in a Awutu constituency, to go and transfer their votes to a Awutu constituency, to vote for the MPP.
Ordinarily, these would be members of maybe the MPP, right? Or general, people just selected at randomly?
It's people selected at random. It used to be, their recruitment used to be MPP people. But now, they are influencing NDC people to do the same, to vote for the MPP in the Awutu constituency.
But let me ask you this, two questions. One, do you have evidence? Have you seen any of such messages beyond being told? Some may have been called, so you can say, you can take their word for it, but then even then you would have to substantiate it. And in any case, don't you think that a discerning Ghanaian, knowing his or her situation, wouldn't be convinced to vote for party A or party B or candidate A or candidate B merely based on, oh, you've recruited me and maybe given me some incentive? Don't you think Ghanaians have got to the point where they can't be influenced by such things so easily?
I will take the second one first. You see, the human quest to survive sometimes forces people to do the unthinkable. So we should not underestimate the influence of resources in our electoral system, in our democratic system. We know that there may be people who will say, I'm an NDC. There may be people who will say, I'm an MPP. But when monies exchange hands, then you are likely to consider the sacrifice the other person has made for you. And we have evidence of several people who would say, I voted for A or B because I was given something to vote.
We know of such instances where people are even made to swear.
Exactly.
So people are afraid.
You see, so when people are imported from one constituency to another with financial inducement, there's a purpose there. So they go and fulfill the purpose. Yes, I can claim I'm an MPP. I can claim I'm an NDC. But when I have been sent to do a particular job and paid for it, I will go and do it. And that's exactly what happened in 2020, exactly what happened in the just ended assembly elections. If you listen to the interviews that was granted at the Gomua East constituency, some were saying they were bad. In fact, there was a woman who said that they brought 2 sprinter buses to pick us from this area to go and vote in the Awutu constituency.
But in terms of the busing to constituencies and aiding people to vote, I mean, you do that as well in the NDC.
In the NDC,
both parties are guilty of that.
As far as I am concerned.
As far as you are concerned, you don't know.
Don't do that.
Let's go to the first point.
Yes.
About, have you seen any evidence backing, anyone who had received a message, asking the person to do X, Y, Z? Have you seen, or is it just word of mouth?
I have told you in the previous interview that some of these things, it is very difficult to put a hand on the evidence. But this time round, we have a situation, and you yourself or your viewers would want to judge for themselves. We have a situation where a person says, look, they came for my ID card. My ID card is with the agent.
Why did the person give out his own?
Because he wants me to go to Awutu to go and vote for a particular candidate. What more evidence do I need to adduce when the person said, my ID card is with this particular person? The reason for which the ID card is with this particular person is because they want me to transfer my vote from this constituency to Awutu to vote for the MPP. And this is something that needs to be interrogated further. I'm sure you are a journalist, you can send your reporters there. They can see for themselves what is happening. And it is not only Igoma West. I've always made the point that the Awutu constituency voters register is bloated by at least 20,000 voters. I've made that point. And I am expecting that the security agencies, I'm expecting that the journalists or the media, I'm expecting the special prosecutor, all those agencies that would have to enforce the laws around elections to investigate my claims, to see if my claims are credible. Because
maybe beyond that, my advice to you, especially as you want to be a member of parliament, would be there's a plethora of issues to be dealt with by the state, by media, and all of that. If I were you, what I would do is probably try and find this person who is the agent, not have a conversation with him, but if they claim that this is the agent who took our ID cards, right, our voters' cards, and wants us to do this, how about getting someone to, show interest and have some sort of conversation with this person? That's a very simple way of adducing some evidence to it, rather than saying you're waiting for the media or some other entities to get to it. But that is what I would have.
Some interesting things are coming up, and I'm sure at the appropriate time,
right,
we will get back to you.
All right, so let's get into the papers. Later, I would have us talk about the power outage situation. I don't know about your situation, but yesterday my lights went off.
Oh, yes.
And we'll
I have a gift for you.
You have a gift for me?
Yes.
What is that gift?
My timetable, my personal timetable.
I'm seeing Doomsaw timetable.
Yes, Doomsaw timetable.
Whenever, every 4 hours.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. You may have to hold it to the camera. Okay, I'll not mention the second place because of Manshia South and then Kaswa. And that's your Doomsaw timetable.
Yes, it's my Doomsaw.
How did you come by this?
Yeah, well, the energy minister has asked us to produce our own timetables.
Yeah, he says it is evil to ask for.
You see,
a timetable. Wish evil upon the country. I don't know what that means.
For you to give me just a couple of minutes on this issue. Doomsaw didn't start today. We acknowledge. There's a history of Doomsaw. I entered the University of Ghana in 1996.
I mean, I was about to say we can go as far back as well.
Yes. And as at 1997, 1998, there was Doomsaw. And when the light goes off, the students will start shouting, coming out, demonstrate, and all of that. Fast forward, in President Kufuor's time, there was Doomsaw. I was then operating a printing press at Awutu Estate. And I remember taking a loan to buy a plant for my printing press.
At the time?
At the time. There was Doomsaw. And of course, during the NDC time, in recent times, there was also Doomsaw. But the difference between those Doomsaws and now is the lack of sensitivity around how we are handling the situation. During Warren's time, there was a timetable. We didn't call it Dumso. Kufuor's time, there was a timetable. We didn't call it Dumso. JM time, there was a timetable. We didn't call it. It was then JM time that the word Dumso was invented. And that's why the NDC time, it was more pronounced. And we made political capital out of it. Dumso timetable enables you and I to plan. Yesterday, I was on Winneba Secondary School campus. You have students who are supposed to be writing exams soon. They have to go on prep to learn for their exams. They are unable to learn. They go to classroom, the lights goes off, and then they have to go back to their dormitories. Then the light comes, they have to come back to the classroom. Then the light goes off, they have to go back to their dormitories. That is how we are treating the citizen. We have a situation where some parents or students want they want to be given testimonials. They were told the lights were not on, so they should come the following day. The following day they came, light was not on. How many times can they go and come? So I am so appalled by the refusal of the government to just do a simple exercise of coming out with the Dumso timetable.
But you should understand. You see, it is said that as you dig a pit, you must be careful because you might fall in it yourself. And I'm not using it in a negative sense. I'm just using it in this context that because of how we play our politics and how Dumso was politicized, it becomes difficult for the administration to admit it. And in some areas, the patterns are so clear that you can literally come out with your own timetable, as some people have. Yesterday, I got home. I tried to get home a tad earlier because I had some work to do that would take me into the evening. Guess what? The light went off. For that one, it didn't take long. A few minutes later, it came back on. I started doing my work, and then I decided to get a nap. In the course of the night, and what I really don't like, my fridge nowadays sounds very funny. And I know it's part of this. The one where it comes on for a second and goes off. So you can tell, beep, beep, then it goes off. Imagine what happens to your AC every time that happens. And you also want to leave it on because you are hot, so that immediately it comes on, at least you get some respite because you may not even know that the light is back. It happened like that on 4 additional occasions. So 5 times yesterday, power went on and off in my neighborhood. What can you do? You can't, and in recent times, just so we cap this off and get into the papers, the Tema General Hospital one is one that really got my attention because this is what a nurse posted on social media. And tomorrow I'll deal with some of these issues. They just turned the lights off at the Tema General Hospital right now. If we don't get light in a few minutes, the probability that we might lose a lot of babies is high. And we hear, some things happened that led to some lives, questions about that. But my chief concern is why. I don't know whether it is a lack of acceptance or a lack of humility or a lack of cogent analysis of the situation.
Hey, Ben.
Hold on. The energy minister says, let those who want the timetable bring it. I don't know of any timetable because the ECG has said it is not necessary. Why would someone just wish evil for the country? But even the PURC has asked for a timetable in a certain context, right? In a certain context, not generally, in a certain context. You decide, fellow Ghanaians. Final point, we have to get into
it. Yes, I was going to say, you see, the accounts have a pro. They said, now you are refusing to accept the fact that there is Dumso because you don't want to be tagged with Dumso. You don't want it to be politicized. But we are in this country, how we use Dumso to attack and tag John Mahama's administration. We went on demonstrations. We coined the word Dumso. What we're experiencing here is worse.
I think the point is made on that.
The lights went off about 4 or 5 times yesterday. That That is doom so. Give a timetable, simple. Just give a timetable.
Well, you can't come out. The best you can do is come out with your own timetable.
Yes, I've done that.
We can wait for the administration to see whether they do. The Daily Guide newspaper is where I'm going to start from. GRA gets new boss. Julie Esiam is her name. There's ECG board chair resigns. Then approved ministers Supreme Court to Parliament. AG ends evidence in NAM1 trial. So let's get right back to them. The Supreme Court has given Parliament the go-ahead to consider and possibly approve the President's nominees for ministerial and deputy ministerial positions, as it has, by a unanimous decision, dismissed an interlocutory injunction seeking to restrain the House and the Speaker from doing so. Now, National Democratic Congress Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo, has filed a writ and an application for interlocutory injunction before the Apex Court, arguing that the decision by President Akufo-Addo to reassign some 5 ministers without parliamentary vetting and approval was unconstitutional. Parliament on March 20, 2024 suspended the consideration of ministers and deputy ministers. It goes on and on, but yesterday we heard the rulings on 2 different points. One, I believe 5-2, and the other one 3-4. Under different circumstances. Then there is, I don't think I'll get into the NAM1 trial bit, though I know it's a major issue with people with funds locked up. ECG board chair resigns. That story is on page 3. The board chair of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Kelly Gajekpo, has resigned from the ECG board. The astute entrepreneur who cited personal reasons for his resignation in a letter to the president was appointed to the board in 2017 by former Energy Minister Boakye Ejako. His resignation, however, coincides with the current energy crisis facing the country with inconsistent power supply in some parts of the country. Any quick thoughts on these 2 stories?
Yes. You see, when a car is running into a ditch, everyone would like to escape quickly before the car finally falls into the ditch. I can see a lot of things happening this week alone. The ECG boss, board chair resigning. I know him. I know that it's a very, I would say, astute entrepreneur, as we will call him. If you link that one to what has happened with the GRA, getting one of the deputies to step in, you ask yourself whether anything new is coming on board. Now that we have just about 9 months to go. The government obviously has failed in many ways. You have cited personal reasons, but we all know that these personal reason retorts are politically coined to absolve the institution of any perception of mishappening or something that's happened that's causing somebody to resign. But I would not be surprised if perhaps somebody was trying to get the ECG come out with a timetable, or there's a certain problem that the public must do that we don't know. That's resulting in this resignation. Because why? You have been a board chair.
The man has chosen not to talk about it.
Yeah, but
we can't infer too much into why.
No, but you have been a board chair for how many years?
That's personal reasons.
7.5 years. You have just about 8 months or 9 months to go. So why won't you finish?
But why can't he at any point decide to resign? Can't he at any point with his history, everything he's done? Can't he say, you know what? I'm tired. I've done enough. Let someone else also come in. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, you can. But you see, Ben, we all know what is happening in this country. We are not naive. We are all in this country. We know what is happening. ECG, or I would say our energy sector, is not at peace with itself.
Right.
Our energy sector is riddled with debt. The energy sector is riddled with so many issues that borders on incompetence. The energy sector is riddled with issues that are self-inflicted, self-imposed.
Let's get into other issues. I get the point. I mean, we've spoken about some of those. But interestingly, getting from page 9 onwards, the The Daily Guide newspaper carries, the photo. President Akufo-Addo at 80. Tomorrow is his birthday. So
yeah, happy birthday.
We might as well, tomorrow definitely I'll wish him, the first gentleman of the land, a happy birthday. But happy birthday in advance, Mr. President. He'll be 80 years, and it says history will be extremely kind to him. I remember some weeks back, Gabi Asari-Otridako said he posted something to the effect that Ghanaians would miss Akufo-Addo, and maybe the Ghana Smart Schools project, which has been launched, would be one of the things Ghanaians would miss. I don't know. What do you think?
I would say happy birthday to the president in advance, but what are we going to miss? Are we going to miss the doomsaw that came with no timetable? Are we going to miss a president who introduced a policy that feeds children, school children, with weevils? Are we going to miss a president who shy away from proper reshuffling and kept a finance minister that ran us into economic situation that we are struggling to come out of it? Are we going to miss a president who himself knows that he has failed and therefore his own vice president is running away from his records? What are we going to miss him for?
Okay.
We were told that somebody 72 years is too old to become a vice president. This is an 80-year-old president who is exiting office, which means that 72 years, 73 years, 74 years, he has been president of this country. For me, I'm so disappointed in him because remember, some of us, when we were students, we were the ones who were supporting this man. During Legon days, TESCON.
You have been a member of the MPP.
Yes, I was one of the founding members of TESCON. With Andy Kubi as a Kesiama and co. We were the ones supporting this man, this president, in 1996 against J. Akufo. So we believe in him. We didn't know that he was just lying his way into power. And we followed him.
Don't you think that is a bit, government has done something. So
has
you say he was
what?
just lying his way into power. Don't you have free SHS?
You said you
do not have free SHS?
Implement one district, one factory. How many factories do we have in this country?
But they've
one village, one dam. How many dams are working in this country?
If it's 1%, they will still tell you.
You said you are going to give us the cleanest city in the whole of Africa. In Accra.
Right.
What do we have now? We have now a city that the Minister of Sanitation has money, the chunk of the money, in his room. That is what we are going to miss.
These allegations you're making, the Minister of what has a chunk of...
Former Minister of Sanitation.
Well, that issue has been taken to court. In fact, is still in court in respect of some of the maids and money they took and all of that. I think the OSP has had its day. The court system has had its rulings. Let's steer clear of that. If there's any proof that can be adduced, the source of the money, the legal system will take care of that. It is not up to us to do it. So please, let's steer clear of that.
You are in this country.
Daily Graphic newspaper. Let's deal with this. The Daily Graphic newspaper. It's not up to us to confront those issues. We've spoken about those issues time without number. It is not. We will not deliver justice on such issues. It is the court system. So if you have an issue on that, take it to court. The Daily Graphic makes sacrifices to impact lives. Christian leaders have called on Ghanaians to resolve to use the Easter festivities to make the needed sacrifices to make the country and the world a better place. They challenged Ghanaians to boldly confront the social ills and practices that threaten their unity and identity as a nation. And just the story, and then you do your headlines. New Togo Charter weakens future residents. I'm sure some of you have heard of the stories about Parliament in Togo and everything that is happening. Togo has adopted a new constitution that lengthens presidential terms by 1 year while limiting the number of terms to 1, which will likely allow President Faure Gnassingbé to extend his 19-year rule by a year longer than previously expected. I almost recall his father, Eyadema. And the presidency of the tiny phosphate-producing country on the West African continent has been a family affair since 1967. You can also think about the likes of Olympio and everything that has happened. But you see, when these things happen, I ask myself, where is ECOWAS? Where is ECOWAS? In Senegal, we saw things until now. The 44-year-old Bassirou Faye has, and I'm very excited about that. But these things will go on. ECOWAS will be mum until there's some trouble, and then you see ECOWAS running helter-skelter. Quick thoughts, and let's get into your.
Yeah, you see, this extension by 1 year, I wouldn't be surprised the constitution will may be changed again. And I wouldn't be surprised if, these people, somebody like Yadama would be given a position in ECOWAS, maybe as a chairman or something. You see, it is when you come, I have realized something. It is when you come to power through foul means that you get quicker position in ECOWAS. You will soon become the chairman of ECOWAS or something else. As Africans, I am beginning to believe that our democracies around African countries is deteriorating to a point where a day will come, will not be able to stop the masses any longer or stop the youth any longer. And we are seeing some in Mali, in Chad, etc. So we wish Togo well, but I believe that if you are ruled for 19 years, it is enough. You are not the only person who has wisdom.
Let's check out the country, the stories that you have from the papers. Any ones, because we've dealt with some of them already. So maybe any one or two that you'd like to read.
Yeah, I saw a story in the Statesman newspaper about human trafficking. And that has been something that has been my area for a long time. And I am interested in making a comment or two. It looks like we are still not winning the fight against human trafficking. And there is a need for us to win that fight. A few years ago, the total number of people who were enslaved and as victims of human trafficking around the world was just around 150 million. Today, we have passed that. Right now, when the proceeds from human trafficking was 150 billion per annum, today, the proceeds from human trafficking is more than 200 billion. It means that it keeps increasing.
Right.
In Ghana,
there was a story in the Daily Graphic recently, the UN report on that.
Exactly.
So I followed that.
In Ghana here, we are talking about almost 100,000 people in slavery. You mentioned the word slavery, and people are not comfortable. But that is exactly what is happening. Just a couple of days ago, a Nigerian was jailed as a result of bringing somebody from Nigeria to enslave in this country.
From Onitsha.
So it is happening. It's about time all of us take a holistic view. I know that the Human Trafficking Secretariat has a national action plan, but the national action plan is not being promoted enough. I want to appeal to media houses to look at the national plan of action that is being created by the Ministry of Gender and promote it well enough for everyone to know what responsibility you have within the framework of that.
All right. Before I take your final words in some 30 seconds, I have to do the story. Sad one, the final newspaper on page 4. Policeman cuts off ear of suspect in torturous investigation or interrogation. In a shocking turn of events, Detective Corporal Clement Suputo faces allegations of gruesome torture, accused of clipping and chopping off the ears of Judith Yakuma during police interrogations. The incident unfolded on February 29, 2024 at the Tema Community 8 police station. According to reports, the ordeal began when Judith's boyfriend was apprehended by law enforcement. Seeking answers, Judith ventured to the police station only to find herself detained alongside her partner, and this was done to her.
Yeah, I mean,
final words.
It has to do. Yeah, it has to do with the approach to our law enforcement agencies. I have been shocked by their. They have something that they use to
the tasers.
Exactly, I've been shocked innocently before about 10 years ago, and I remember, when I was doing my national service, I was just going for an interview, and the police stopped a car, came to the car, and people were just making noise, and the police asked, "Why are you people making noise?" And I just answered, "Oh, it's because when you stopped, they were expecting you to come." Just by opening my mouth to answer him, he punched me in the face, and blood oozed into my shirt. And because of that, I couldn't go for the interview. That policeman died through a motor accident following Akufo. I'm sure you heard of that story. I believe that our approach to law enforcement needs to be humane, with human-centered approach. We all have rights, and you have your responsibility to enforce the law. But respect my right as you enforce the law.
And that's what the law says. James Kofi Annan is the NDC's parliamentary candidate for Awutu constituency, and he joined us this morning to get into the papers and talk about other pertinent stuff. Let me quickly do this. Birthday message, a belated one, actually, from Kwame Jumo Ajiman. And it says, happy birthday to my little sister, Mrs. Dora Kumaho. Have a good one. I love you to bits. So belated happy birthday to you, Mrs. Dora Kumaho. And may God bless you richly. Your brother Kwame Jumo says he loves you to bits. Right before we go, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment. They're offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Their branches, you can reach out to them at Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakradi Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And thank you, James, for joining the conversation. We wish you the very best. Sports is up next. Do stay for that.